All right, everyone. This episode of Wrestle Magic, we're having an interview with, I don't really think that I can say his name as well as he can. So, sir, would you mind introducing yourself to the audience, please?
I'm the man from Green Bay, Wisconsin, weighing 234 and one quarter pound today. Mr. Kennedy or Anderson, whichever you prefer. And I would yell, but I'll probably get a knock on my door here pretty soon and get
Fair enough.
escorted out of the building. So,
Okay, that makes sense, man. Yeah, don't want to get you kicked out of your own building, but yeah. So joining me as always will be my friend King Scully. So without further ado, Scully, would you like to start this one off, man?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And Mr. Anderson, first, could you just tell us about your childhood? Like,
my childhood.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nobody's ever asked me before about my childhood. I don't know. I guess at the time it felt fairly normal, or looking back on it, it's pretty normal. I did have, my father left my mom like really early on. Like I was like 6 months old or something like that, right? And he kind of dipped out of my life. And my mom got married when I was 5 to my stepdad, and he was my dad essentially growing up. He ended up he was really, really strict, really, really hard on me. Did not we can get into this. This would be like hours and hours of discussion, right? But we won't go there. But for better or worse, made me who I am today. But I did get a ton of love from my mother, and I had a great, my mother and my grandparents, and I had other people around me that were just an amazing support system, who told me that I could do anything that I wanted to. And fast forward, I get out of high school, I go into the military. And then after that, it sort of set me on this path of like, I can do anything that I want to. And I was willing to like put myself in situations that were really uncomfortable, because the military is super uncomfortable. Going through boot camp is rough. And then, led me to the WWE eventually. My stepfather passed away. My biological father came back into my life. We've been like very, he's been in my life for the last 10 years. It's been amazing. Like I said, we could really, really peel back that onion, but depends on how far you want to dive.
I'm glad you've made up with your biological dad. And would you say, because I'm a father myself and I've got 3 children, and I think this day and age, like now, it's quite hard to discipline your children like you used to be able to. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know. I don't think it's hard to, it's hard to see. I don't run into this problem. I feel like I talk to my kids and I genuinely like take the time to explain to them like why, when I was a kid, it was don't do this, or can I do this? No. Why? Because I said so. Nobody likes to be talked to that way, right? Like kids are human beings. Kids are little adults, and we just happen to like know more than they do. And it's our responsibility, I think, to like bring them up to speed. So I just find that I can just talk to my kids, and that I've had really good luck with that personally. Yes, I think it's a great thing that you can't physically discipline your kids anymore. I was physically disciplined a lot when I was a kid. And to be honest with you, like, it would be I'm undiagnosed, but I believe I'm ADHD, right? And I was as a kid. And I would be in class and I would speak out of turn, or I'd be talking to the person next to me, always talking. And the teacher would get on me and write my name on the board. And then like pretty soon, they'd stop talking, Mr. Anderson. And I'd stop talking. And then suddenly I'm talking again. And it wasn't ever a matter of like, screw the teacher. I'm going to do this. I'm going to talk. It was just like, I forget. So here I'd be talking again. Pretty soon, there's a check mark. And there's another check mark. And pretty soon I'm going on to the principal's office. And then pretty soon I'm going home with a note. And then my dad is physically disciplining me. And the physical discipline just made me scared. And it taught me to like figure out ways of like lying and getting around and getting caught doing those things, which were, again, I wasn't intentionally being bad. It was just like, and the other thing too is that like the physical discipline, I feel, this is my personal opinion, when in life, if you don't get your way, can you just walk up to somebody and hit them? Like if I ask you to do something and you don't do it, do I get to hit you? No, I go to jail. But for some reason, before you're 18 or before you're, because parents usually stop physically disciplining their kids around like 11, 12, when the kids can finally start to fight back. Like I said, if you can't physically discipline anybody for not getting your way. So why do we get to do that to our kids? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Totally
Does
agree.
that make sense to you? Like,
Yeah, it just makes no sense, man. And I totally agree. It's not necessary for anybody. And for development, it's just going to teach them to fear you more than anything. So,
and also, if I don't get my way, I get to hit somebody. And that'll get them to, and then it's funny because like these same people that physically discipline their kids or complain that we can't physically discipline our kids, are the ones that'll say like violence is never the answer. Is it? Like, which is it? So
I see what you mean, man.
That's my opinion.
Fair enough. And I can appreciate that for sure. And you seem very genuine and adamant with that. And I really appreciate that. But something that I want to ask you now, because you had mentioned being military. What branch were you? And I never knew about this.
I was in the Army Reserve.
Oh, okay.
Army Reserve for 6 years.
Oh, wow. Do you mind me asking what your MOS was, sir?
76 Juliet. I was a medical supply specialist. The only reason I took that was because there was a $3,000 signing bonus going into it.
Of course. That's where they get you, man. Probably going to have this edited out. My father was 11 Bravo and 12 Bravo at a different point. So, yeah, thank you for your service, sir. It's pretty cool to hear that you were also in.
Appreciate it. Same to your father.
But anyways, so were there any experiences from the military that you still carry on in your regular life, maybe with your schooling or anything, maybe like even just workouts or anything like that?
Attention to detail. That was very big, right? Like if the drill sergeant and I grew up with a disciplinarian as a father who my stepfather, I'll call him my father, right? Like my father never was in the military, but you would think that he was. There were things like, he would have me clean my room and I had to take every book off the shelf because I read a lot when I was a kid. I had to take every book off, dust it, put it back neatly, alphabetize everything. And then, when I get lazy every once in a while, I try to like just take the rag and dust around the books. And he would come down there and he would like lift up the corner of the book and he'd see like a little thin line of dust and just trash everything and go do it over again. And then I'd have to do it from I'd start right over from ground floor. So when I got to the military and the drill sergeant started doing this stuff to people, I wasn't having the problem. Like, drill sergeant would say, take your mask off. Take your gas mask off. And so we'd take the gas mask off and people would start putting it away. And they would, I didn't tell you to put it away, did I? I told you to take it off. And no, like they drop people. I never ran into that problem. So, fast forward to now, I always tell my students, please pay attention to, if I ask you to do something, if I ask you to put your feet this way, left, right, left, pivot, there's a certain reason for that. And, yeah, I guess that would be the biggest takeaway. I would say
Okay, so just giving
attention
the
to
order.
detail.
Definitely just giving the order. Do not go any further than this. This is exactly what I've told you to do. Don't think beyond that. Do as I just said.
Yeah, within reason, right? Like I think there's exceptions to every rule. I'm not a, I don't rule with an iron fist. I try not to rule by fear. The only thing I want people to fear is danger, because what we do is very dangerous. It's a dangerous business. So I want you to fear harming yourself or somebody else. That's it. It's the only thing I want you to fear.
That's
That
a
makes sense.
good thing to look at. Scully, do you want to ask what's next?
Yeah, that's first of all, thank you for the advice on fatherhood, because I'm definitely taking that on board. Because obviously sometimes everybody gets a bit angry.
Yep. Can I? Sorry.
Yeah.
I think I have found personally that when I get angry, I'm really angry at my lack of communication skills. Something I'm not communicating. Whether it's an argument I have with my wife or one of my students or whatever, when my students aren't doing something, it's like I'm mad at myself because what I'm saying is not being conveyed to you. You're not picking it up. So just trying to figure out. So I think when in those moments when you get frustrated and you're like, I don't know what else to do except for physical punishment. I think that's where you need to step back and just take a timeout, put yourself in a timeout.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not physical because my wife wouldn't allow me anyway, even if I wanted to be, because she's never been physical. That's just the way she is. So
Yeah.
She's a lot, I'd say she's more chilled than me. Fun. So should we speak about your career and what got you into wrestling?
Yeah, absolutely. What got me into wrestling? So if you want to go back to my childhood again, I was always drawn to the performing arts and I was never like a theater kid, like a hardcore theater kid, although I liked that stuff. I enjoyed it. But I was just like, I'd watch movies and dream about, I want to do that. I want to be Elliot from E.T. I want to tell stories to people. I became sort of like I got this Joker tattoo on my left arm because I was considered to be from many like the class clown of my school, because I always wanted to like make people laugh. I'd do impersonations of other teachers and other students and the school bully, and I'd tell a lot of jokes whenever I'd go to a party. I'd stand on top of a chair and I'd tell jokes to everybody, and so it was something that I always wanted to do. And then after I got out of high school, and I got out of I went through boot camp and I was doing the weekend warrior thing. Didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. And then I was at a friend's house one night and he always watched wrestling. He would always have wrestling t-shirts on. I always kind of gave him a hard time. This was the guy that introduced me to bodybuilding and working out. And I would always give him a hard time. Now, what do you watch that crap for? It's so stupid. And, he would just laugh and kind of brush it off. And one night it was just, he and I were hanging out at his house and he's like, we're watching wrestling tonight. And absolutely not. We're not doing that. And he was just like, come on, man. Like there's this one guy who's tearing up the scene right now. He's changing the way that he's like changing the face of wrestling right now. So, okay, whatever. So we're watching and somewhere along the way, I heard this glass break. And he was like, here he is. This is him. And this bald-headed guy came driving to the ring in a pickup truck, a black pickup truck. And just the way he carried himself, the way he walked. I just like, okay, that guy's kind of cool. And the way I don't exactly remember what it was, but the interaction that he had with whoever else he was feuding with at the time, I want to say it was like Shawn Michaels, because it was right before WrestleMania 14. And I was just like, okay, this guy's cool. And then every week, so my roommates at the time also watched wrestling. And I would stay in my room while they watched, or I'd be out of the house. And I started going down and like, tell me when Steve Austin's on, I'll come down and watch it. And then like, I'd catch a little bit of Taker and Kane, and then I'd catch a little DX and a little the Nation of Domination, and just all these different characters. And I slowly but surely got sucked into, and then I realized how stupid I had been for all those years, and really like what I had been missing out on. And that's all I could talk about. Like it was so popular. Wrestling was everywhere. Wrestlers were on the cover of TV Guide, and Steve Austin did the Got Milk commercials. And, everywhere you went, it was wrestling, wrestling, wrestling. And I would go to work. I worked as a nuclear security officer. I was an armed guard at a nuclear power plant. And we would have like 20 guys on shift, and everybody watched wrestling. And we had nothing to do but sit in these little boxes by ourselves. We had phones, and we'd call each other. Hey, did you watch Raw last week? Yeah. Did you see what Austin did? Of course. And that's, and then you'd get to the next thing, and you'd call another of the 20 guys. And so it just became such a huge deal. And then I was at a party one night. Sorry, this is long-winded. I was at a party one night, and one of my buddies said, you can go to wrestling schools. He's like, my mom works with somebody whose son just graduated from a wrestling school. And I just blew my mind, because I had never even imagined, it never dawned on me, like, how do these guys get to do this? Like, how do you fall into that line of work? And I went home and I got online and I searched wrestling schools. And I remember thinking, I'm going to have to go to like one of the big three. I'm going to have to go to, it's either Chicago, New York, or LA. And I lived 3.5, 4 hours away from Chicago. I thought I can drive down to Chicago. So I worked every other weekend. I was like, I'll drive down to Chicago on my weekends off, and I can go to wrestling school and live in my car or whatever I need to do and come back and forth. And this was like, I didn't know anything about the business. Aside from what I was seeing on Raw, I had certainly Mick Foley's book had never come out, because he did a lot of that stuff. And then I ended up, a guy called me back from Green Bay and said, I'm starting up a wrestling school. You'd be my first student. Do you want to come try out? And I did. And I immediately fell in love. Like, I stepped foot in that ring. I took my first bump, and I was like, I'm doing this. And then 9 months, trained there for 9 months, every other Sunday. And then I just, this is it. I'm gonna do this. And I started sending tapes to WWE right away.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm glad that you stuck with it and everything. And I do also want to say, don't apologize for being long-winded, man. Tell your story. And I'm happy to have you on here to tell your story. But I do also want to ask, so whose school was it that you went to at that point, if you don't mind saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. It was Mike Mercury and Eric Hammers, Eric Plecken, and Mike Krause are their real names. Two guys that never made it to the scene, never made it to WWE, but they understood ring psychology. They understood the business, and were able to teach me the fundamentals and the basics, and just the etiquette of the business. So I understood what it was like and what I needed to do and how I needed to act. For the most part, there were a couple of things they steered me a little bit wrong. There's kind of a funny story. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the wrestling handshake, the little limp noodle handshake.
No, I'm not familiar, sir. Can you please explain?
Back in the day, if you were a worker, because kayfabe was so important back in the day. For those that aren't aware, like, kayfabe was like, keeping wrestling a secret, like it's real, and there used to be if you walked up to another wrestler and you said, "Hey, I'm a worker too. I'm a wrestler," and you shook their hand, there was this like little light handshake. So you didn't grip their hand really, you gripped it really, really gently, like really soft. So essentially, when somebody looked at you, they just saw a regular handshake, but between the two of you, it's a really, really light handshake, barely touching each other. And I did that. So I got my first, it wasn't my first extra work. It was my second round of extra work. I got booked by Kevin Kelly, who I just had at my wrestling school yesterday for a seminar. He booked me in Cleveland and Detroit for Raw and SmackDown. And I was at the gym. I was at a Bally Total Fitness. And this was when the new Radicals had just come over from WCW. It was Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn. And they were all at Bally's working out. So, my heart's thumping in my chest. I'm going to go introduce myself to these guys and say hi and let them know that I'm a wrestler too. And then I'll see them tonight at the show. So I get up the courage. I walk over and I give Dean Malenko the little weak handshake. And he blew up at me. He's like, "Oh, these guys think that they're in the business because they shake hands like that." And he was really, really like, he made a big deal out of it. And I was so embarrassed. That's
Wow.
really, really the only time those guys ever steered me wrong, though.
Man, sounds like he blew up a little bit harshly on you. But I do want to ask about, so you had mentioned kind of being the class clown growing up and everything and always trying to make people laugh. So did that transfer easily into your mic skills when it came to going through your schooling and learning how to perform on stage?
Yeah, for sure. That was, I guess, when I started, if you go back and you watch my early stuff, especially my OVW stuff, when Paul Heyman took over writing for OVW, this stuff was very heavily comedic. And it was, there was a lot. I kept getting, everybody sort of kept comparing me to Steve Austin. I got the Steve Austin comparison a lot, which I was happy. I was both happy and sort of like, I don't want to be pigeonholed. I don't want to be that guy. I want to be me, But it was more like, I would say The Rock really inspired me for promo work because his stuff was so funny, always funny. And I was very drawn to the funny promos. So yeah, definitely. I tried to ham it up big time. And it got to the point where at first Vince told me, he really gave me no parameters. He's just like, go out there. And I would say, like, what do you want me to say on the mic tonight? Just go out there and get yourself over. Just, win the crowd over. Okay, cool. So I was pushing the envelope and I was getting funnier and funnier. And I remember I did this, the straw that broke the camel's back was, I did a segment with, do you guys ever watch Full Metal Jacket?
Yes, absolutely.
There's a scene in there where the drill sergeant discovers that Private Pile is hiding a jelly donut in his footlocker, and just cusses him out and dresses him down. And so I did that at the time I was feuding with Tony Chimmel. And so I did that whole, I was like, what is that in your pocket? And then he pulled it out. He pulls out it's a jelly donut. Are you allowed to eat jelly donut? I did the whole thing, and I came back through the curtain and Vince was like, enough of that. Stop being funny.
You were over though.
And then that started a very painful process of trying to figure out, okay, all the stuff that got me here and that Vince once upon a time loved about me, he now hates about me. And so now I have to fix that. And I couldn't figure out why. And it took me the longest time. He was just like, you're too funny, you're too entertaining. And I was like, that doesn't compute to me, man. Like, I'm too entertaining on World Wrestling Entertainment. But looking back on it, I completely understand what he meant. And then one time I remember he pulled me in the office and he was like, funny does not equal money. And he's like, people that cut funny promos never make money in this business. And I was like, sir, with all due respect, The Rock. And he was like, well, yeah, but if you watch, he goes, The Rock. So here's the thing. If you're going to go that route, you have to go out there and you have to like deliver every night. The Rock cut that. My favorite promo of all time is the Billy Gunn speaking to God promo.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Favorite promo of all time. I can recite it front, back. And he said,
can we hear it?
Out there, what's that?
Can we hear it?
No. But he said his idea was that, like, he had to go out there and cut that kind of promo every single night or it fell flat. And if you look to his point, there were some times where The Rock's promos got to be like he recycled. He would recycle a lot of the same stuff over and over and over and over again. I like them pancake or what? But do you like pancakes? Pancake your ass out of here, And he would keep hitting that stuff week after week after week. So anyway, now I understand it. I get it. And I actually watch my early stuff back, and it's kind of cringy to me. But it is what it is. And again, it got me there. It got me to the dance.
Hey, man, that's what maturity does to you. Sometimes you grow a little bit older, you look back and you're like, man, I thought that was so cool. What was I doing? But that's life, man. Scully, I don't want to hog the spotlight. You want to take over, bud?
Yeah, I was saying to Mav before we started, so there's a wrestler I kind of think similar to you, and I don't know if you agree, but LA Knight. I can see, like, because I grew up in, I'd say, like, the Attitude Era, and when you come into it, I think you was amazing. I was like a big fan of yours and that. And you mentioned The Rock, he's my favorite of all time. So, but yeah, now in the modern era, I kind of see LA Knight is similar to you. Do you kind of see that? Because I know, like, he's been compared to Stone Cold and The Rock, but I kind of see him, he's a bit like you. And do you think you could, like, if you was wrestling in the WWE now, I reckon you would have a good feud with him. What do you think?
I would love that. Like, I get that a lot. I get asked this question a lot, that people compare us, and I've seen people, saying that in a positive way, and I've also seen people saying, "Oh, you're just copying these guys," right? And it's like, I don't know. There isn't anything in pro wrestling that hasn't been done before. And I don't think there's anything wrong with borrowing from the people that you looked up to. And I have no idea if he, I don't know what he felt about me personally. But I definitely know I can see The Rock in him, and I can see the Stone Cold Steve Austin in him. And I honestly, I don't think that he is stealing or trying to mimic those people. That's him. Like, if you talk to him, if you talk to whatever, Sean Ricker, that's what he's like that in real life. He just happens to turn the volume up when he gets in front of a camera.
Okay. So when it comes to creating a character, I've heard a lot of people talk about, it's basically just cranking it up to 11. You take your personality, push it up a little bit more, and try to be a little bit extra. Is that essentially what happened with your character as well, or was there some sort of other inspirations that pulled into it too?
Yeah, I think it's mainly that, right? There's other little things that you pull from here and there, but I really think and essentially that's acting. You look at, I use this example, you look at a interview with any actor, any good actor, and their character, like when they're sitting down with Jimmy Fallon, they're not too much different from what you see on camera. It's just so it's like somebody hands you a script and you are able to like pull from your personal experiences to go to those to like dial up those emotions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're kind of digging within yourself to be
Yeah.
extra in a way. And this also does kind of lead into my next question that I wanted to ask about. So where exactly did your entrance with the microphone coming down from the ceiling and everything come from? What was the inspiration for that, sir?
I announced basketball games when I was in high school. And it was like all part and parcel with that, me being the class clown. And I had a mass media class, and we had to take a fictitious product. We had to make up a fictitious product and then sell it. And one of the ways I chose to sell it was I did a commercial, and I did a radio commercial, and then I did like a print ad. And for the radio commercial, I did, big radio, old time radio voice. And so my teacher said, "Hey, you should announce basketball games." Put me in touch with the school principal, vice principal, who was the athletic director, who I also did impersonations of on a regular basis, much to his chagrin. And I started doing basketball games, and then volleyball games, and I did some football games. And some point, somebody said, "You should do the last name twice, like the old boxing announcers used to do." And so I just started doing it, and it was a hit. And it was a hit not only with our fans, but like I'd get people from the other opposing teams that would come over and say like, "Hey, good job. I really like your announcing." So then I get out of high school, I go away from that. Never even dawned on me that I would ever go back to that again. In fact, I'd almost forgotten about it. And cut to, I'm at OVW. Paul Heyman says, "Tonight you're going to go out, cut the ring announcer off, dress him down, tell him that, he does a terrible job, and this is how you do it. And I want you to do your own big and make it big and grand." And so, okay. And then I did that. And just in the moment when I was standing in the ring saying my name, I just hit the last name twice. And it wasn't even something that I planned. And when I came back through the curtain, everybody was like, "Keep doing that." And then that just became my thing right there on the spot. 5 weeks later, I was debuting on Velocity against Funaki.
That's pretty cool. I like that little story to it.
It's crazy too. It's, like the people out there who are listening to this, who are really good performers, who have the athleticism, who are good, your in-ring stuff is solid. It's crisp. You cut a good promo. You're just missing something. Just keep trying, because all it takes is one little stupid. I said my last name twice, and I went from not being known to, there was a potential, like at the time, because there's 50 to 60 other people at OVW that are all trying to get on TV. And I really wasn't doing anything at the time. And it's possible that I was 6 months away from getting fired because, there just was nothing for me I just did that one thing. And here we are today. I wouldn't be talking to you today.
Yeah, you're right, I think, because charisma plays into a lot, and I feel like you found just that moment that you could find where your character and everything kind of came together and was able to just perform in front of everybody with just something as simple as saying your last name twice, making it sound good, and people loved it because just the way it sounded and the way that it came off. Sorry, Scully, I don't want to hog the spotlight from you too much, man. Go ahead and continue, brother.
It's fine. I've just been listening, and I'm just like thinking to myself, I'm 38 years old and I'm still doing what you do, impersonate workmates, impersonate my work manager, and I do it quite funny. I take the mick out of them, I laugh like them, and they hate it, but at the end of the day, it's all about having fun and having banter. Yeah. And with your announcing, I was going to ask you about, because I know you've done Top Rank boxing as well.
Yeah.
And I'm a boxing fan. I love boxing. Have you ever done any boxing before? Because I've did boxing training and it's pretty hard work.
No, I've never done any boxing training. It's funny because like the academy, my wrestling school, was inside a boxing gym. So I have boxers surrounded, I'm surrounded by boxers all the time, or I was for a few years. But no, I never really, I would watch the big fights whenever Tyson would fight and watch, the 90-second fights. Because that's usually what they were.
Yeah.
Big build up, 90 seconds, just kill somebody, destroy them. And actually when I did Top Rank, I sort of had to be handheld, and I was lucky that there was somebody there who was like, because I didn't understand the scoring. I don't really follow it, so I don't know the scoring system. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't saying the wrong thing. So I had somebody there, and it was Top Rank. Somebody from Top Rank reached out and said, "Hey, I'm a big wrestling fan. I'm wondering if you might want to try this out." So it was just a one-off thing.
Oh, okay. Because like I seen it. I have seen you do it, and I just thought you were really good at it. So, because obviously you have like Michael Buffer and you have some big names doing announcing, and I think, yeah, I could see you announcing, I don't know, Tyson Fury fight or whatever.
Yeah,
because you got the voice for it and you got the charisma for it. So, yeah. But would you ever see yourself doing that like as a like full-time thing?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm still wrestling. I'm still active wrestling, and I feel like I still have gas in the tank there. I'm not quite done, but definitely, it's definitely something I could see myself doing, like you said, full time. One of the easiest paydays that I ever got in my life. I almost said I wrestled for, but I went and worked for ICP, the Insane Clown Posse. They have a wrestling promotion called JCW, if you're familiar with it, Juggalo Championship Wrestling. And I just went in their biggest event of the year is the Gathering. And this year it was in Ohio. So I went down to Ohio, and all I did was announce one match. So I went in, announced the match, and back home. Loved it. Thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Seems like a nice payday for sure. Something that I did want to mention. So the first time that I actually saw you that I can remember, it's probably around 2008 or 9. I remember I was channel surfing. I found TNA Wrestling, and I can see you're wearing the TNA hat right now. So I know you still got love for them somewhere deep down, no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, I remember first thing that I saw when I changed channel was Jay Lethal doing springboard, hitting the ropes and bouncing back. And that alone sold me on the show. But then seeing your match later in the card, all I could think was from your entrance alone, I was blown away. And I was really impressed with everything that you were doing. So in a way, I do feel that part of my love for TNA does stem to you as well. And I do appreciate the performances that you always put on, because it felt like you were the old reliable kind of performer there. You never really, that I saw, had bad matches or anything. Your charisma and your promos were always good. So I could never really complain about it. So I do want to say thank you for being somebody that kept me interested in TNA over those years. But also I do want to ask you about, how was your experience in TNA and what led you to working there?
I loved working for TNA. I really did. And the camaraderie, the locker room, the chill it was just, it was really something else. And the thing is that while there were things about TNA at the time that were frustrating, that frustration never got taken out on the fans. We would talk to each other behind the scenes, but we went out and delivered every night. We would try to, when we started feuding with, or competing with, not feuding, but competing with Monday Night Raw, we really believed that we had a good product. I don't think anybody ever thought that we were going to like overtake them. But we felt like we can definitely compete with them. So just everybody there was super, super cool. And most of my experiences up until the very end were all nothing but positive. And
Okay.
actually, you asked about what led me there, and it was I did after I left WWE, I did the Hulk Hogan tour of Australia. I got booked on that and met Hulk and Eric Bischoff, who Eric Bischoff very shortly after then went into TNA and sort of took over the pencil. And I don't know if he took over the pencil, so to speak, because there was still Vince Russo and what's his name? Ed Ferrara. Ed Ferrara was writing for TNA when I first got there, but it was like all of those people together, and it was Eric that definitely opened the door for me to go to TNA.
Okay, that's interesting. I never knew about that. But so once Eric Bischoff had kind of came into the picture, I felt like things were already on a great incline. Things were going in a great direction. I really loved what was going on in TNA at the time. And then, do you remember when there was that like almost after dark sort of show that was going on like right after tapings? How did you feel about that? Because I remember just watching it the first time thinking, I don't know how I feel about it.
I loved it. I thought it was a unique take. And it's sort of, fast forward to today, it's what WWE is sort of doing right now with
Unreal.
yeah, to some degree. I always one of my frustrations about the wrestling business is that it's always remained as like a one camera shoot, especially backstage. It's always one camera, and I get it because it's easier to edit one camera, but it would look so much better if there's a backstage brawl, and we could do so much with a two camera shoot. You can get different angles. Why is it that when two people are talking to one another, you have to awkwardly stand, bladed towards the camera a little bit at this awkward angle, and you're looking at each other, but you're kind of looking at each other side-eyed, because like if you look like this, then it messes up the shot. Just stuff like that. And I just thought, here's an example of they would do multiple cameras, and they just did a lot of editing and stuff like that. And it's something that I wish and I hope that someday somebody picks up on. It's sort of like Lucha Underground was doing it.
Yeah, that's true. I never even thought about that. Lucha Underground was doing it, but
and also WWE's dipped their toe in the water, and AEW has dipped their with the, what do they call them? Cinematic matches.
yeah, that's true. I forgot about that actually for a minute. But yeah, man, I mean, back then you were working with guys like Abyss, Austin Aries. You had an incredible cast from, Jeff Hardy, you, Jay Lethal. There was a great list of names that were up there. Who were some of your favorites to work with back then?
Jeff Hardy, Jeff Jarrett, Kurt Angle, Bully Ray. Bully, it's one of my favorite feuds that I've ever been involved with. My favorite match that I've ever had was with Kurt Angle.
Was it the Lockdown?
His steel cage match.
Yeah.
2009. There were so many guys. AJ, loved working with AJ. How could anybody not love working with AJ?
Right.
I believe that the best person that I've ever stepped foot in the ring with was Shawn Michaels, and AJ Styles is a close second.
Okay. That is definitely a highly regarded list for sure. And Scully, I don't mean to be taking the spotlight completely from you, brother. Nah. Go ahead, ask away, man.
So I don't want to rewind it too much, because obviously we've gone to TNA, but in WWE, obviously you was the Money in the Bank holder. Mm-hmm. I loved it when you won the Money in the Bank, and I know you was going to cash it in. I did see that you was going to cash it in, but you got injured. And so that stopped it from happening. But I kind of feel like they should have let you maybe face Edge or whatever, whoever had the title, and then win it that way. I kind of feel like it was a bit harsh to take it away from you. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, looking back on it, and in fact, you're the second person that's ever brought that up to me, and the other person that brought that up to me was like 4 days ago. It's interesting. So I've never really thought about it like that. When I came back, why didn't I just jump into a feud with Edge right away? It would be the obvious. But I think the reason was we were on separate shows, if I'm not mistaken. Because he went to SmackDown and I maybe went over to Raw when I came back. Not sure. But if that's the case, if it's just a matter of we're on separate shows, that makes sense. I think that might be why. But it was very, very strange the way that it all went down, and it was, I got pulled into the office, told next week you're going to cash it in because Taker's hurt. We need to take the title off of Taker because he's injured. He has to go away. He has to have surgery on his biceps. Then laid out the scenario, and then the next time I wrestled, I got injured. Or I thought I was injured far worse than I actually ended up being. They told me that I tore my triceps off the bone and that I was going to have surgery. And so I went and I dropped the briefcase to Edge. And then the very next day, I went and I met with Dr. Andrews, and Dr. Andrews said, "That's not a tear. You didn't tear your tricep." And I was like, "Well, what did I do?" And he's like, "No, it's just a bruise. It's just like you popped a bunch of blood vessels in there and it's really bleeding." And that's just I don't even know if it's a condition that I have. It's just like that happens to me from time to time where I'll get a hit, and it's usually a pretty significant hit, but I will bruise significantly where it almost feels like, oh my God, something's really, really wrong with me here. Like I can't walk. And it turns out it's just a giant bruise. So, with that, it was like, I went from I'm going to be out for 8 or 9 months because of this surgery to I'm going to be back in a month. And with that being said, they still needed to get the title off of Taker, right? Like, so you can armchair quarterback it all we want. Here's the thing. Pro wrestling writing is one of the hardest jobs in the world because you've got you're constantly chasing ratings for one. Like, did that work? Nope. Okay, we got to try something new. You've got people that are constantly, people get injured, people get sick, people get in trouble. Like there's people quit, get fired. There's all kinds of different reasons, but like wrestling, the writing team has to write 52 weeks a year and they never get a day off. And the day that they're done writing, like they spend all week leading up to Monday Night Raw, and then Monday Night Raw happens and they go right back to writing for the next week's Monday Night Raw the very next day, or sometimes even on that night on the plane on the way home. So it's easy for me to sit here and go like, well, I should have done this, they should have done that. But at the end of the day, they have to make a decision, and they have a really short window of time to make those decisions. So I can't fault them on that.
Yeah, I get that. But like, you were so over. Like, I think you were definitely like, I kind of feel like they stopped your momentum a bit. Like, and I know how it went down, and I don't really want to go too much into that, but I know you have made up with Bob Holly, is that correct?
Oh, for sure. Yep.
Yeah.
And Bob had nothing to do with that. That had nothing to do with my getting fired or anything like that. That was a complete separate issue. But yeah, definitely. Like the thing between Bob and I, it was a misunderstanding all along. And he was a different person back then. I was a different person back then. We've been able to, it's funny looking back on, like, him going on every interview and saying in detail how he was going to kill me.
Yeah. Because as well, like, do you ever feel like you would ever be able to make up with Orton? Because I know, like, you two were good friends, weren't you? And your wives were friends. And
What was that? I'm sorry. I didn't.
you and Orton were good mates, weren't you? Do you ever
Yeah.
feel like you two could make up or ever again, sort of thing? Because I feel like he's grown as a person by what I've heard, and you certainly have as well. So do you think you could reconcile at some point, maybe?
I don't feel there's anybody in the world that I dislike or that I've had a issue with that I couldn't get past. You know, like, let's have a talk about it. We're adults. Let's talk about it. And I definitely, for sure. And we haven't spoken about that issue. You know, I haven't spoken with Randy or John about what went down. But I've met with Randy. Like, I went backstage to a Raw probably 5 or 6 years ago now, and we chatted for like 45 minutes to an hour, just, you know, BSing, and everything was fine. And I feel like, you know, one day we will have that talk, or maybe we won't. I don't know. You know, it's something that, like, I don't. It comes up in interviews because obviously it makes sense why it comes up in interviews, right? It's something that people want to know about, but it's not something that I think about on a regular basis, and it's not something that I'm sure he doesn't think about it. I know he's not thinking about me every night.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, so that's maturity. You know, life goes on, people grow, and that's how life is. You're just going to look back and be like, man, was it anything really that needs to be talked about anymore? Does it really matter? And you just grow out of it. But
Yep.
something that I did want to ask you as well. So you've been in the business for a while, and I just wanted to know, is there any kind of advice that if you could go back to the beginning and tell your younger self before beginning, what would you tell yourself? Like, just general advice about the business?
Just never take your foot off the gas, because there was a point where I got to a certain level and I just started. I'm good. I know enough. You know, I don't need to keep learning and watching, and it's like now I look back in interviews, right? I'll say certain things. I'll talk about my attitude during that time. I'll say that, like, when I was wrestling Shawn Michaels, I was punching the clock. I'll say I got to wrestle the Nature Boy Ric Flair on a pay-per-view, and I basically punched the clock on it. And I was just like, what am I saying? Like, who is this person? That doesn't make sense. If I could go back and tell myself that, I would just say, like, you know, this job, it's funny because, like, when I was coming up and I would be an extra and I would be sitting in the stands or around the ring, and I would hear some of the guys on the roster, on the WWE roster, who would complain, oh man, they only gave me, you get 10 minutes tonight, or I'm only getting 5 minutes tonight, and they'll probably cut my time short. And I remember thinking, like, well, I'll take that 5 minutes. I'll take that 10 minutes, you know, like, and then you get there and then you start feeling that way too. And then now that I'm out of it, I can look back and go, I'll take the 5 minutes again. So I guess that would be my advice to both myself and to my students and to anybody who's out there thinking about, you know, this is what I want to do. And also surround yourself with people, whether that's, you know, I'm talking your friends, your family, your significant other, have to appreciate what we do. You have to have somebody that understands and wants you to succeed in this business.
I think that's good life advice in general, man. I really appreciate hearing that. But so we're getting close to the end of the show here. So I do want to ask, sir, so what is the name of your school, and how can some people contact you, and what all do you specialize in at your school, or what do you think is like the best thing that people can get out of it?
I teach people how to fall down. It's called the Academy School of Professional Wrestling. It's located in St. Paul, Minnesota, and my number for the academy, I'll give it out here. It's 507-722-2776. It's funny because like I went on Chris Van Vliet podcast and I gave that number out. And as I'm about to give it out, he was like, I don't know if you want to do that. And I was like, oh yeah, well, I'll give out my, it's my business number. He's like, I don't know if you want to do that. Bring it on, pal. He dropped it at like 6 a.m. and by midnight that night, I had 400 messages, 400 text messages, all positive too, I might say, all positive, not one nasty one in the bunch, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
But we also, you can check out our website, the Academy, sopw.com. Go on, check out, we have an Instagram page. You can check out my Instagram and my Facebook have all of the information on there. Like anything that I post to the Academy page gets posted on mine first. I'm also doing a podcast right now. I just launched my own podcast. It's on YouTube and all of the Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you can get your podcast from. It's called Mic Check with Mr. Anderson. So yeah, please give us a follow.
Absolutely, man. And so we're coming down to the end of the show here. What we always like to do with guests, and even if it's just ourselves, we always like to give a recommendation for the audience. It could be movie, TV show, book, video games, cat breed, dog breed, doesn't matter. Even a recipe if you'd like. Just something that you really love and you think other people should try. So what recommendation would you have for the audience, sir?
Birria tacos.
Really?
You ever had birria? It's birria. It's birria tacos. And it's, I just had them for lunch. It's have you guys had them?
I think I've had them once in the past a long time ago, and they were great.
It's like a dipping taco. They fry them up on the griddle, and then they have this broth, this soup that you dip them in. And it's out of this world. That, and I would say the other thing is the last two Doom games that came out for, I don't know if either of you are gamers, but I'm a huge gamer. My wife is a gamer. So the last two Doom games that came out were phenomenal.
Oh, okay. So you're mainly on the first-person shooter stuff, or what kind of games do you like, sir?
I like, mostly I would say my favorite game of all time is Fallout 3. So I'm a open world sort of RPG first-person shooter blend. I've always wanted for Call of Duty, like I like Call of Duty, and the most recent Call of Duty actually started becoming a little more open world where you can go in and explore and find stuff and upgrade certain things and find new weapons. So I'm hoping that one day they come out with a Call of Duty that replicates all the things that I like about Fallout. And I think that Fallout 5 is on its way too.
Are you a fan of Red Dead Redemption?
I am. And funny thing, so I'm a huge fan of the first one. I've tried the second one. We've tried 3 different times.
It's hard.
But it's like we're 2 hours in and we're still going through it hasn't opened up yet. It's so brutal. It's so lengthy just to get into it. And then something else comes out and I'll go and play that. And then I feel like I've forgotten the story and where we are and all the controls and everything like that. So it's like, I got to start over again. And then I go through and I start the whole process over again.
Yeah, there's a really random bit on that game. So you're in the woods somewhere and there's this guy and he invites you into his house, yeah? And his wife's there and basically his wife's offering herself to you. It's really weird, right? And basically they get you drunk. You get really drunk. They keep giving you these drinks, and then
Okay.
you end up in the middle of nowhere, and they've stole all your money and stuff, and it's like, what the hell just happened? It's like a little cutscene thing. It's really weird. And then I managed to go back and find them and kill them and get my stuff back, but it was really random. There's so much random stuff on that game.
Here's another random thing. So, two things. First game, they came out with some DLC, some downloadable content. That was some zombie stuff. I don't know if you guys
Undead Nightmare.
recall that.
Yeah.
I was one of the zombies. I was one of the zombies. So I went and did. I got booked through my agency. I got booked as doing mocap for the zombies. And then I was in the running to play the main character in Red Dead 2. I ended up, I did like four auditions, and the auditions just kept getting more and more intensive. Remember the first time I did an audition, it was for Rockstar Games, but it was going to be for like they wanted me to do like a New York like a mobster type accent. And when I got in there, they took that script away from me that they had given me, and they said, actually, here's what we want you to do. I had to sign it. Yeah, no, I didn't have to sign an NDA there, but I did. They gave me a script, and it was like they wanted a Southern accent. So then I was like, and there was talks of Red Dead Redemption 2 being just around the corner. And so I went through this whole process, and then for some reason something happened, and it kind of got shelved for a couple of years. And during that time, like I parted ways with my agency, and so never ended up being a thing. But almost, kind of.
It's pretty cool though. I never knew about that. All right, so thank you so much, Mr. Anderson. Can you give us your like Twitter and Instagram handles and everything for the audience before we head out?
Yeah, absolutely. My Instagram is Mr. Ken Anderson. It's Mr. spelled out Mister Ken Anderson. Twitter is Mr. Mr. Ken Anderson. My Facebook has my mug on it. Anything else? TikTok. My wife and I have a TikTok. We haven't really used it much since the start of the Trump administration, when it went away for like 90 hours or something like that. It got shut down and then came back. We really haven't used it then, but it is Anderson Squared if anybody's interested. And like I said, check out the mic check with Mr. Anderson on YouTube and Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff.
Definitely will do. Scully, do you have a recommendation this week for the audience and where they can reach you?
Well, as you know, we've made a Facebook account, we've made Instagram account, we've made a TikTok, and we have a YouTube at Wrestle Magic Pod. So if anyone's listening, please, or watching, please can you go and have a look, because this will be on there, and we'll be happy to have some subscribers because it's pretty new and we're trying to grow. So thank you.
Of course. Do you have any recommendation for the audience this week or not today?
Not today. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Sorry.
What about you, Mav?
Well, so I have a recommendation because I'm also a gamer and you actually made me think about this. I pre-ordered a little while ago Silent Hill F because I'm a big survival horror guy. I just got through, which was it? Resident Evil 2 and 3's remakes. Loved playing through them. It was a lot of fun. And Silent Hill hasn't really had a new good game in a while, so I'm hoping that this F will come out and actually put some new life into the series. I'm really, really hoping that it comes out well. Read a little something today. They're looking to try to use a new combat system, something about like a Souls game sort of thing. And I'm intrigued to see how it comes out, and I'm just excited for something new. I even ordered the Steelbook exclusive that's only in the UK, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, you guys know where to reach me, at Maintenance Mav on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. And in the words of my friend Memphis Mark, we're out.